There are thousands of people incarcerated in our state's prison system right now. And technically, only 8 of them were sent there specifically to die. And those are the 8 who were on death row before the state Supreme Court ruled the death penalty unconstitutional. Even those serving life sentences in our state prisons were given just that, life, sent to our prisons to live out the remainder of their time on earth. So if you're serving time in a state prison in Washington, it's the responsibility, it is the duty of the Department of Corrections to do their best to make sure that you stay alive. I say all of that because I know there are people out there who are going to watch this and say, who cares what happens to those inmates during the coronavirus pandemic? Who cares if they get sick? Who cares if they get so sick they die? They should have thought about that before they did something that landed them behind bars. I know there are people watching who will say that. This past week, there was a riot of sorts at the Monroe Correctional Complex. Inmates, growing increasingly anxious over the handling of the coronavirus crisis, allegedly threatened to set fires and take prison guards hostage. It led to assurances from the governor and the secretary of the Department of Corrections that they are trying to do everything they can to keep inmates healthy, and that includes potentially releasing some offenders early in order to create more space to keep the virus from spreading rapidly inside prison walls.
Generally, we're looking at nonviolent offenders who are nearing their appropriate release date, who, because of age or health conditions, have a higher risk of potentially contracting the disease and having a fatal result.
And look, no one is advocating the release of violent offenders, except for a lawsuit being heard by the state Supreme Court, which would cut every inmate over 50 loose, regardless of the crime they committed, so they don't die from COVID-19 in prison. But I don't think anyone actually believes that lawsuit is going to be successful. King County's progressive executive, Dow Constantine, had this to say about it.
Do you think that's a good idea?
No, that's absurd.
Now, maybe you don't care about any of the inmates in our state prisons. Maybe you don't think any of them should get out early. And that is a perfectly fine opinion to have. But you might care about the prison guards, who have no choice but to also be inside those prison walls. None of us want to imagine a scenario where so many guards are sick that there aren't enough of them around to keep a relatively tame riot from becoming full-blown anarchy. The bottom line is that it's in all of our interest to make sure that everything is being done within reason to keep offenders healthy. And remember, only 8 of them went to prison with death sentences. But even for them, death by coronavirus isn't really how our justice system is supposed to work.